Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Smith. I'm the head of business development at Netcapital. Let's give everyone a few moments here to get settled in. All right, looks like everyone's funneling in.
Awesome. Wonderful. Exciting.
All righty. Well, we have a few housekeeping items to go over, so I'm going to start those before we get started. As with all of our companies, when we host our webinars, Unlocked Reality is actively fundraising on Netcapital right now. You can invest in Unlocked Reality by visiting netcapital.com and searching Unlocked Reality if you are interested in investing. For those who are viewing live, I'm going to add the Unlocked Reality investment link in our chat right now. Next, I want to mention that we do want this webinar to be interactive as possible. So please, when asking questions, use the Q&A function, not the chat function that I just put the Unlocked Reality investment button in, but the Q&A function to ask questions, and I will answer them at a time that is appropriate. Now, I know there are a lot of investors joining us now that have previously invested in Unlocked Reality, as well as many investors who have not yet invested. We will do our best to cover both sides of the aisle, but it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Steve Ardiri, advisor to Unlocked Reality, and Akash Bellapati, founder and CEO of Unlocked Reality. Akash, how are you today?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
That's great. Well, we really appreciate you taking the opportunity and taking the time to introduce yourself live. A lot of folks have seen your page, but getting an opportunity for folks to interact live with you and learn more about your company. So really just starting at square one, give us a brief overview of your company.
Sure. So Unlocked Reality is a virtual reality hardware accessories company. We don't do headsets, but we solve the problems that headsets don't solve today. Currently being virtual reality locomotion. So what that means is allowing you, whoever you assuming, to be able to walk, run, move naturally in virtual reality. Whereas today, what it looks like is you put on a headset. You try to, you're really limited to the physical space you're using your headset in. Whereas if you use a product like ours in the future, it'll open up the infinite potential and infinite digital experience of what virtual reality is, allowing you to walk, run in virtual reality just like you would right outside.
Akash, appreciate the overview. And I have to ask, and for those who are somewhat familiar and maybe not familiar, can you just get a little bit more granular in layman terms at really what your company does and what the product speaks to?
Sure. So like I was saying, we're making a solution for virtual reality locomotion. So what that means is today, like I was saying, you throw on a headset and you really have to set a physical amount of space that you can actually move around in. What we do is we are making a physical platform that you'll walk on when you throw on a headset that'll actually keep you in place. So you can walk 100% naturally on this product, and it'll keep you on that space. But what you'll be able to do is when you walk on the product, you'll be able to translate your motion into virtual reality. So essentially, it'll open up virtual reality to the infinite expanses that what it is compared to today. And so how we do that is something that's kind of our secret sauce, which I'll be happy to explain more about.
So with that, can you talk a little bit about now having obviously worked with your team at Netcapital, Can you talk about the different pillars that you kind of highlight through your offering page about how your product works?
Sure. So it really comes back to what our methodology is, which is different than a lot of our competitors. So I'll just start by talking about what other people do in this space, and then how we just do it pretty much very differently. So other people, if you want to be able to move naturally in VR, you have to like have either a large treadmill like device, which often costs several hundred tens of thousands of dollars, or you have to buy one of those really slippery discs, essentially. So you buy a large slippery disc that you strap yourself into, and you kind of try to slip around in that disc. What we offer is an opportunity to invest in what the future of virtual reality locomotion will be, is essentially a methodology that we've developed that is based on how you physically move yourself today. And I can definitely go more into how that like physically works, but how we essentially, that's part of what we're offering, is this ability to invest in helping us create a production ready prototype, so that when we launch later today, so we can actually launch later this year.
So Akash, I think that was perfect, because obviously we have a bunch of questions here
Yeah.
that we're going to be going through, and I think we're going to touch many of the topics that could go into that question, right?
Mhm.
So okay, so we got the overview of the products. You got a little bit more granular for us. What problem are you actually trying to solve with you and your company?
So that's one of the coolest parts, is like I was mentioning, uh, our competition today, or whatever exists for virtual reality locomotion today, doesn't allow you to move naturally. They claim that you can move naturally, but in reality, you're just strapped into this large device, or you're trying to have like a giant treadmill try to keep up with you. What keeps what we're offering, which is different, is essentially natural movement. We how our methodology works is it promotes and emphasizes and is based on how your unique gait, how you specifically move. And using things like machine learning and deep learning, we're able to understand how you yourself use the product and move. And using deep learning, we're able to create a profile based on how you move, so that the system can perfectly support how you walk, run, and understand how you walk and run, so that it'll be able to keep you on that platform, moving, walking, just like you would walking down the street.
Right, and let's point the audience to on the campaign page the failure of the other platforms. So there's a graphic underneath the problem statement in the campaign page that kind of talks a little bit more and gives you a nice depiction of treadmills, slide mills, and trackers, and the common failed user experiences, which is unnatural movement, lack of play space, kind of irritable restrictions. So my question to you, Akash, is why don't you talk about how you've addressed, which is very important, the components of the human sensory system, vestibular and proprioceptive sense?
Proprioceptive and vestibular senses is through our methodology, which if people are more interested in how specifically the tech works, I'd be happy to dive into that. But based by going from a walking centric design system, by focusing on a person's user experience of how, like, physically making the system understand how you walk and supporting that, we're able to allow people to move naturally without any harnesses or any safety railings or anything like that, which then in turn allows you to move as you would walking down the street. By that, we're promoting how the senses that allow you to actually walk down the street, which is the coolest part. Is it's kind of a circular system. By enabling you to walk how you would normally walk, it makes you feel much more natural when you walk, as compared to our
No, I appreciate you
competitors.
sharing that, Akash, and I think that's
Yeah.
perfect. And I just want to let everyone know, keep the questions coming in. We have a
Yeah.
number of questions that we're going to be answering. We want you to really understand, for folks who are thinking about investing and maybe have invested, but want to hear it from the CEO and founder's mouth about the product. But
Mhm.
we really appreciate the participation up until this point. So keep the questions coming in
Of
on the
course.
Q&A. I
And actually,
promise
there's a really good one, if I may, on the use cases that will help differentiate, in addition to the technical features, what we're talking about. So most of the, and then, let me just take the lead on this, since
Sure.
I help really construct and focus us on the enterprise as our focus, more so than consumer. So what does that mean? Most of the, VR, everybody usually associates gaming and entertainment, which is, currently the main markets for the competitors, and location-based VR and like arcades.
Exactly.
Now, we, as Akash will embellish further, we see some of that, and he's going to tell you about our phases of the first, ecom model, and then our more sophisticated model. But some of the use cases, to answer whoever posed that question, we see are the use cases in things like physical rehab and therapy, enterprise sales training, other types of healthcare, like in, training for doctors and nurses. Military simulation and training is huge, especially where, advanced warriors, where they're wearing they want to have that simulation, more realistic simulation. So by having natural movement and not being confined to boundaries like other systems do, you can actually get a accelerated version of that. Fitness, for sure, and engineering, like virtual inspection of critical infrastructure, really doing the training before going live. So take it from there, Akash.
Yeah, let me just tack on there. So what Steve was largely mentioning is that what we're making is basically demanded by many verticals today. They have a lot of workarounds to try to. A lot of verticals are incorporating virtual reality into their workflows because it's more efficient for them. And what we're doing is allowing them to do what they normally do, but more efficiently. So in a lot of the enterprise verticals, like physical therapy and enterprise training, and even in military simulation, this sort of high fidelity experiences is already in demand, and they're trying to find a solution for it, which we are 100% trying to match.
Exactly. And so there was a question. Yes, explain how you're walking on the platforms. That was another question, Akash.
Before we move on to the next question, I just wanted to quickly just expand on one point that I feel like will open up a lot more questions for people. Is today, our methodology, what we're currently making and producing and R&Ding for the near future, is that we're making individual hardware platforms to walk on. But the methodology that that's currently patent pending under us is actually a methodology that could be expanded past just one platform. Think of, for Star Trek fans out there, think of the holodeck. So like a full room of basically an infinite sized room. Our methodology can be expanded into a multi-user, a large room experience. But what we're focusing on today is just making the individual size platforms to address people that are specifically tackling this or have this issue that we're trying to tackle. So I guess to answer.
No, I appreciate you expanding upon that.
Yeah.
And we do have everyone, keep the questions coming in.
Yeah.
These are very great. These are very interactive. And Akash and Steve, I appreciate you elaborating on that. A question that I've seen over and over, so we're going to skip to it a little bit, is how big is the market for your product? I mean, endless possibilities, right? So how big is the market, Akash?
So I can, just to give you a size of how big this market is I'm just going to start small, and then by the smallest number, I think it'll start giving a really good perspective. Is the estimation calculations that we've been able to see is just for the consumer space. Just so we're talking about individual owners and for VR arcades, and like just the consumer experience, that alone is estimated to be approximately $20 billion, and that's within the next few years. And then if we start expanding into the spaces that clearly already want this technology, already using versions of it and are not happy with it. So we're talking about physical therapy, enterprise, all the enterprise verticals. That's billions, even more money sitting, billions of dollars sitting on the table, waiting for us essentially.
That's great, Akash. And I want to answer a question from Shane that came in, because
Sure.
there's a market opportunity for your product, but will your product be compatible with other VR systems?
So that's 100% part of what we're trying to design is we want this to be, we're building a host of accessories. We want this to be extremely interchangeable with whatever VR system that you want to use. That's the way we're designing it, is so that it can be used with any system, as well as can be even specifically designed for any system. So what that means is how we're building is we're essentially creating an API that can be tapped into to access all the fun stuff in the tech, but we're also making it backwards compatible. So like, for example, games that exist out there or experiences that exist out there that depend on joystick control. We're already thinking about how to make it backwards compatible for all experiences. So we are making it system agnostic, and yeah, we're making system agnostic is the best answer to that question.
I know folks love to hear it, Akash, when you can go on multiple verticals in multiple different directions. So we've asked you a number of questions here, and then I know there's a burning question, right? Because at Netcapital, we help companies raise money. So investors want to understand, okay, if I invest in unlocked reality, what is your business model, and how can I, as an investor, make money? So Akash, could you please answer that for the folks that
Sure.
are listening live and the folks that will hear it on this webinar that's recorded?
So it's kind of a twofold, right? So essentially, when you invest today, as an investor, what I can tell you is you're investing in a suite of products. This is not just a one and done company. That's not our idea. Our idea is to keep growing. So this, I'll get into it later, but this is our first product. We plan on growing into basically being the standard for fully immersive accessories. So if you invest in us today, my hope is for us to be able to grow whatever you invest into several fold. As our goal is in the future, after we create or at least the several products into our line, we want to be able to IPO and create an initial public offering for everybody to decide what they want to do with their investment.
Thanks, Akash. And so I know a lot of folks, when they invest, they want to better understand the team and you specifically. So can you tell folks a little bit about yourself that are thinking about investing or that have invested, and why your team is so unique, and what's that special sauce?
This is a really awesome question, because it just gives me an opportunity to talk about myself and all the people that I've been working with, and everyone that's been so kind to me. I'll just start talking. Why we're the company to do it is because, especially starting with me, I've been working on making solutions for the VR. I've been designing VR solutions for the last 8-9 years in my free time, when I wake up, when I sleep, when I dream this stuff. This is what I'm going to do. I love to do. This is who I want to be for the rest of my life, really. And I've been doing this stuff, trying to figure out what the best way to enter this industry would be to sell off the tech or make it myself. And at the end of the day, no one was making what was the best solution. So that's why I decided to lead a team that would help me make all of these designs come to life. So that's where people like Steve and all my advisors come in. Steve, who has a lot of wonderful connections of bringing all these people to know about this project. The rest of my advisors, who are all enterprise CEOs in the VR space, who are extremely knowledgeable about the different enterprise verticals and how to get into those industries. My engineering team themselves, I know almost all of them for like at least a couple of years at minimum. That's the one of the fewest newest people to our team. Everyone else I've been working with or have known for a long time. And have unique skill sets that all support each other and are supporting me to be able to actually make any product that I have in my little inventory here.
Thanks, Akash,
So-
because I know team is really important as someone's making a decision on investing their hard-earned money, right? And so when you think about Unlocked Reality, can you bring us up to speed since the inception of the progress that you've made thus far in your exciting company?
Sure. So there's a lot to do.
Lot to cover here, Akash.
A lot to cover because we've been going at this for about it's been a little bit over a year, but we've actually covered a lot. One of the coolest things that we've been able to achieve in the last year is that we were nominated for Rising VR Company of the Year by for the VR Arcades of VR Awards 2021 by AIXR, an international VR organization. Please check them out. They're a wonderful resource. Other things like we've already before we even got to Netcapital, we've had over $100,000 of investments. We've made several proof of concepts for the different versions of our product, even before we got to our current version that we're currently working on. Some of the other fun stuff is, I know something everybody would love is we've been able to complete a prototype of the current version that we plan on launching, hopefully by the end of this year. I guess those are some really awesome. I'll just leave it at that before I go on and on about the number of things we've been able to achieve in the last year.
No, Akash, that's an exciting update. And before we continue further, just to reiterate to everyone, Unlocked Reality is currently live on netcapital.com fundraising. You click the link that we put in the chat or visit netcapital.com and search Unlocked Reality. So Akash, we just talked about some of the progress, the exciting progress that you've made thus far. When you think about, going into, Q1, Q2 of this year, what are some of the next major milestones for your company?
That's a great question. So right now, if for those who are checking out the Netcapital page, in the discussion section, I answer this question right out. For who want a little bit more context, but essentially what we're doing right now is we were able to complete a prototype of the version we want launched this coming year. But what we're currently working on is creating a version 1.5, and by the end of this quarter, we want to be able to be well into version 2 of our current platform. So essentially taking all the things that we've been learning as we're creating this prototype, adding some additional efficiencies to it. And essentially by the end of Q1, most likely by the middle of Q2, we want to be able to well into finishing version 2 of our prototype, so that by the end of Q2, hopefully our goal is to be able to just take version 2 and turn it into a production ready prototype. So ready for manufacturing.
And can you talk about, we want to make sure we give enough words to the follow-up version, the Maglev version, which is super interesting. Let's awesome. Bring that in now. Yes.
So I guess for those who are just tuning in or want a little bit more information, is we currently have 2 versions of our product. Like what I was saying is what we have under our belt is a patent pending methodology that we've applied to create 2 products. One, which we're launching this year, is what we internally call the econ version, or the consumer friendly price tag version, the econ version. And the one that is coming next is our a little bit higher in price, but much higher fidelity Maglev version. That one it uses a very similar methodology of what we've been doing, but that our Maglev version will be hopefully coming out late 2023 or early 2024.
And what is just for people that don't understand Maglev, it's the same concept that high-speed bullet trains, but you should really, I mean, not a deep dive, but it's a very interesting subject.
Sure. Let me just quickly touch on, I've been saying that we have a unique pad petting methodology, but our methodology depends on a dynamic friction reduction. So what that means is, when you walk, when you move, when you touch, when you just want to displace yourself while you're walking anywhere, how you move is completely dependent on friction. So how you actually are able to take a step and change where you're standing to another place, you would depend on friction, your friction with the ground. So what we do is we take advantage of that fact. And how we're able to, or what we're able to do is by creating a platform that can dynamically change the amount of friction that you feel with the ground at specific points in time while you take a step or during each step, we can control how much you can displace yourself. So how we do that is using two methods. The more cool one is using Maglev. How that works is by magnetically levitating you extremely small amounts to be able to change the amount of friction that you have with the ground, like we were just saying. And by doing that, by creating a platform that does that, essentially is what our next product would be.
I appreciate you diving in further about that, Akash. And I want to answer one of these questions
Sure.
just off the bat, just to explain the offering that this unlocked reality, and as well as all of our offerings on Netcapital, do fall under Reg CF. And I know that came in a couple times. Just so if you're an accredited investor, non-accredited investor, you can invest in unlocked reality if you choose to do so. Akash, another question that came in,
Sure.
and obviously with this being an investment, when you think about the company, what are potential exits for the investors that invest in your company?
So that's exactly what I was saying earlier to some degree. Right now, our current plan is that we can IPO within a certain amount of time when we establish ourselves as market leaders within this space, which should be very soon, as soon as our product launches, really. Given after we do that and launch maybe another product or two to really establish our name within the space, our idea, or at least my long-term plan right now, is to open up the market to IPO, to allow people, allow investors that do want to support us during this critical time in our development to reap the benefits that we would be able to accrue by that time.
Thanks, Akash. And again, several folks have asked this. With COVID and the world we live in right now,
Of course.
the global chip shortage and what you need for the product, is that affecting anything with what's currently happening or the future of the product?
I cannot tell you how much COVID and everything affects everything. So for those who don't know, our Unlocked Reality was founded in 2020. We're a COVID company. We're a pandemic company. We were founded in the pandemic, but that doesn't mean that we're immune to any of the effects that I can tell you. For example, a critical example right now is purely for prototyping things, like creating prototype 1 and currently 1.5 and 2. The hardest part about it is when we try to manufacture any custom parts, or we're trying to prototype any custom parts, the timeline for any prototyping R&D essentially has been multiplied 2 to 3 times. And so I can definitely tell you right now, it's a huge effect for us. But taking all that into consideration and in sense of how, like, what decisions we want to make in sense of when we prototype, as well as when we are actually going into manufacturing, I think now that we've lived in it for a little bit, we have learned quite a lot to be able to make sure it's not as much of an effect as we move forward. But chip shortage wise, it's not as much of a strong effect, but more so supply chain issues. That has been a larger issue for us. That if that's what the question that you're really looking for.
Yeah, no, that was great. And Akash, we have a couple questions about marketing and just your strategy behind it. How do you market the product? Is it, someone asks, is it any paid influencer marketing? Is it through publication, just word of mouth? People like Steve and the robust board that you have. What's your strategy that's worked for up until this point, but also going forward for marketing the product?
I love this question.
Yeah. Let me take the first stab at that. We have on the webinar, we have our marketing team, Nick Nessler and Jack Richards, who've been doing a phenomenal job with exactly what you stated, with influencer marketing. And that's really the key. I mean, you can do social media, but as Akash alluded to, the other advisors that are all CEOs of their own VR companies, we're kind of like worked our way into, as a nascent player, which was no marketing, it was Akash and development until we got this campaign going. So we're starting to really bubble up, and I can attest or paraphrase for Jack and Nikki is that our SEO on like Google searches is really, really doing well, and the success of our ads on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn is doing extremely well. So that is absolutely, I mean, like anything else, the best technology doesn't win unless you have the right marketing wrapper around it. Akash, go ahead.
Like Steve was saying, I just wanted to give some awesome examples of our marketing. We've had an explosive number of people checking out the Netcapital campaign, and as well as checking out all of our content. And some of the cool examples of influencer marketing that we've seen is I've approached several many high well-known influencers within the space, and most of the time the reaction to what we're currently making is extremely positive. One of them said something along the lines of, "I can't wait to try this. Let me know as soon as it's ready." But to answer your question is absolutely influencer marketing.
It's so exciting, and I've just had an absolute blast working with you both, and Akash, you and the brilliance on how this company came to be. A number of people have asked, and Steve, it's going to be a two-part question, so you're in this as well. And Akash, I'll start with you. What are you most excited about for Unlocked Reality in 2022? And then Steve, I'm going to ask you the same question.
What I can say is, honestly, I'm just really excited. I just want to launch our product. We're just kind of we're just waiting for gas, essentially. The more support we get, the more gas we get in the tank, the faster we can launch our product. And that's what I'm most excited about. Is I can't wait for the reception of our product. If we are able to meet our plan of being able to launch our first, our econ product, our consumer version of our product this year. That's what I'm most excited about.
Steve,
so the same,
2022.
Right, exactly. So it's really, the econ version is giving us the beachhead to what I paraphrased earlier within some of these enterprise verticals, physical rehab, enterprise sales training, healthcare. Just to let you know, the audience, I advise 8 AI startups, Unlock Reality included. So, and half of them are in healthcare, mental health space. So I'm like, loaded with connections there. Our other advisors are doing work in military simulation, construction, physical rehab is one of the other ones. So we really have a lot of these vertical markets dialed in. So the game plan is have product can deliver, right? So this campaign is going to give us phase 1 with the econ, and then we can do the follow up, with the Maglev version to further, lock down our beachheads that we'll establish in these verticals, and then we move on from there. So one question I didn't want to answer live, Akash, I've been trying to pick him off,
Sure.
is does your product allow for reading, saving of more than one user's unique walking style or gait?
So that's actually something we've been considering during development. Is of course, there's going to be multiple people that want to use one platform. So we've been playing around with the idea of essentially like saved profiles. So understanding, because each person's gait cycle, or each person's own gait analysis essentially has extremely very unique markers to them, or generally recognizable as unique. So essentially, yes, there would be, we're planning on ways to be able to, first of all, be able to essentially create profiles for each person that wants to use it. We may not be able to get this down as fast as we want it, but we definitely have it as a feature that we want to add in the future, as possibly like automatic profile selection based on recognized gait. We may not be able to do that now, but we definitely want to be able to do that in the future. But yes, we have plans to be able to essentially save people in people's profiles essentially.
And there's only 2 open questions because I've been doing a good job typing answers while you're talking here. So what is the projected cost of the e-conversion?
Am I allowed to answer that question?
Ask
okay.
Thomas, because I didn't want to put it in the chat window. So can we verbalize that?
We I'd say to learn more, if they want to interact with you on your discussion board.
Okay.
And you want to have a private conversation with them, that's totally your call.
Well, one thing we will say, we're really trying to make it very attractive for the e-conversion. Of course, the Maglev will be more expensive, but we want to, like I said, we want to establish beachheads, and we're going to make it. And this is what Akash has been working on with this iterations of 1.5 now, then 2.0.
How to make it cheaper.
So, yeah, exactly.
What I can say is, I'll say this with high levels of confidence, is we want it to be at a price point that's cheaper than some of the current existing highly popular VR like slide mills that exist today for the consumer side of things. We want it to be about the same price, if not at cheaper for its standard price than what other ones exist today, other platforms exist today, so that everybody can have access to this.
Right. And then for the audience, you can go to the Unlock Reality website and look at, we have a video because of compliance issues, you can't put it on Netcapital, but you can see in the video from one of our advisors titled Best Metaverse Investment in 2022. It's a 6-minute video. So take a look at that and your questions will be addressed that we can't verbalize here.
Thanks, Steve. And I think that's a great way if folks want to communicate. Gosh, I do want to ask a question that we just got in. What is your enterprise favorite verticals to tap into, and what are some use case examples for that vertical? Now, again, your answer, you can be as specific or as vague as you'd like.
This is awesome. Because I have so many answers to this question, but the enterprise vertical that I'm really the most excited for is, like I have a background in like VR for accessibility, so like being for health, and so like my goal is to be able to create a like almost like a health grade physical therapy device. That's my goal. But definitely speaking, like as a generalization, my favorite that like the whole healthcare physical therapy enterprise vertical is I think my favorite. And then could you reiterate the question? I want to make sure I'm answering all of it. Muted. The moment.
Oh, thank you, Akash. What is your enterprise favorite verticals to tap into? And the second part is, what are some use case examples for that vertical?
Right. So this actually perfect. This I can plug one of our advisors. So one of our advisors, one of the first advisors we brought in after Steve was actually Veena Somredi at Neuro Rehab VR. They are currently, this is why it was such a perfect fit, because I love creating devices that can help people accelerate their physical therapy. So what Veena Neuro Rehab VR has been creating is physical therapy experiences for people to accelerate their to create more fun tasks to do while doing rehab. And they have shown studies that doing rehab using VR and VR related devices has accelerated most people's people that go through their program have their physical therapy has been accelerated. So that's why it's I guess why it's one of my favorite, as well as a perfect use case for what this is.
Yeah, and it's one of my favorite as well, since I'm also an advisor to Neuro Rehab VR, and it's a wonderful and use to where, rather than having the patient if they're really have like Parkinson's or some kind of really bad disability, rather than being tethered, rather than just being kind of restricted within a bounding box, what Veena sees as this natural movement where you can not be encumbered with being in a harness or something like that, is going to give you much more greater freedom in terms of, like Akash was saying, the physicality, upsides of using the platform. So it is a wonderful use case.
Akash, I know we're getting close to the end here, but I do want to touch upon this. This question just came in, and it's very interesting that you brought it up. Have you worked with the paralysis community yet? And if not, what's the plan over the next 2 to 3 years to tap into that? I know, Steve, you mentioned Parkinson's and things like that, but do you have a timetable when you're going to be working with folks with, physical ailments and disabilities?
Well, some of the initial units are going to go to these partner companies.
Exactly.
So as soon as seriously, we're not being facetious about this. We want to get, enough money to where we can get manufacturing, the timetable on that, you can talk after me. But yes, we want to get these in the hands and actually get them in clinics and hospitals for that particular use case. And the same thing with Lori Lee Elliott is doing work in military simulation and engineering. And then our other advisor, Annie Eaton, is doing a lot of work in video arcade. So we've got a lot of these markets already covered with the existing advisors. Akash?
So, to answer your question is, even though, we're just one group that's essentially helping the paralysis community. How our way to do that is by creating this product and putting it into hands of our direct of our advisors like Veena Somredi, that have the direct access to create experiences that people in the paralysis community can directly benefit from. But we're just to answer your question, that's what we're doing. That's what we will be doing. At least that's what we are doing currently through our products, is creating a high fidelity walking experience so that anybody that can walk will be able to use it. That's our current goal, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, is not just for the paralysis. Yes, we're helping them as we go, essentially.
So there was 2 more questions in there. I know we're running out of time here, but do you have enough money to launch a product? No, that's why we're doing the crowdfunding to finish that off. I love this one. How will your platform play a role in the metaverse? Can you walk around your VR house and look at all your NFTs?
That's part of it. I wanted to talk more about the metaverse, but I'll
Yeah.
let, I don't know, Tom, you wanted to.
Well, yeah, and I just wanted to ask you, because we had one more question come in about a gait pattern with the paralysis community and how you monitor that, and really how you guys are thinking about, you know, someone who is paralyzed that obviously needs to get in, whether it's locomotive training or things like that. But how do you address the gait pattern with someone who's paralyzed?
Yes, that is
And it's a loaded question, right, Akash? So
it's I mean, that comes down to essentially how we're currently doing our machine learning with essentially what we're currently doing is all our machine learning and gait analysis is based on what is considered a normal gait pattern. And to answer your question in short, that is something we will have to work on more closely with anybody that wants to help create experiences to support that.
And it would probably I did, you don't know this, Akash, but I did, because I'm very big into the healthcare space. So there are other startups that are using precision bionics that where sensors are on your legs and the muscle groups, and that, you know, so I see it as a complementary solution. So we'll be able to provide everything that we've espoused here, but they call it a neural sleeve gait assist. Okay, so if you actually do combinatorial, like we can also integrate through API with haptics, you know, so you look at the combinatorial approach of, you know, the platform for natural movement with unlocked reality, combined with some of these other modalities, really gives you that holistic solution.
yeah, and I think I just want to add a tidbit that everything that we're talking about here, right? Unlocked Reality is actively raising on Netcapital, and they're obviously maturing as they go. So there's a lot of problems that, Akash, correct me if I'm wrong, that you will be able to invest in with the capital that you receive.
Exactly.
And so I know we're getting to the end of time here, but I really, you know, appreciate everyone tuning in, and then those who will hear this in the future. But Akash, what do you want people to know about your company and why this is such an opportune time to invest in Unlocked Reality?
This is perfect because I get to do 2 birds with 1 stone. So all the folks that are asking about all this metaverse stuff and with all the metaverse craze, as people know in the VR space, the metaverse is something that we've been seeing that is coming. Something that I want everybody to take away from what we're currently working on is that's what we're doing. We're creating a suite of a family of products that will be the standard for fully immersive VR in the future. And what that means is all the stuff that you hear about the metaverse today, we're building the first, like we're creating your legs for the metaverse. When you think about walking around in a physical or a digital but physical feeling metaverse in the future, that's what we're building today. We're creating that technology so that it feels 100% natural for you when you actually do so.
Thanks, Akash. And lastly, why is this such an opportune time for folks to invest in you and your company with your team, with Steve?
Yeah.
And lay it on us.
Because this is the best time, because this is right. We're at a inflection point, really. People are pouring money into the metaverse to make this digital experience, but they're the few things that are that'll slowly start bubbling up is they're missing the accessories that will actually allow them to physically interact with VR. And as VR grows today, people already want more in-depth experiences, things that'll feel more natural, more realistic, that are easier to use. And that's exactly what we're creating, is a device that allows you to feel move within VR like you already do in real life. And that's why before you have an opportunity to invest in technology that will essentially be required or essential to the VR space in the metaverse before anybody else really picks up on it.
Well, Kosh, it's extremely exciting what you and your team are building. I've been a big fan when I heard about the product, and being on Netcapital, you can accept investments from both accredited, non-accredited investors. And just to reiterate, Unlocked Reality is raising right now. Netcapital.com/unlocked reality. You can search them on netcapital.com. Akash, it has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today. Steve, an absolute pleasure to speak with you as well. Thank you both for what you're doing within this space. And also, it's always, I get to work with founders and CEOs and executive teams all day, but I really do get enjoyment with working with companies that are going to make a difference in the lives of those that are potentially in need, right? So it's a real testament to what you're building, Akash. And Steve, I know you advise on a number of companies, just the work that you're doing. So thank you both. Thank you everyone for tuning into this webinar. And remember, Unlocked Reality is raising live right now on netcapital.com. Thank you all so much for attending. We'll see you soon.
Excellent.